Then there were five.
Awesome.
Can you see how many people are watching live?
I cannot because we are live right now. I would like to know how many people are watching live, but you guys are here. That's what I'm looking for. The first Triple T of 2026. Welcome to 2026. Happy New Year to all of you. Appreciate you tuning in. My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. In fact, I've the statement of the more you know, the more you understand how little you know fits into my life quite a bit. But I'm glad you guys are here for Talk Time with TJ Triple T on Tuesday night. For those of you that are tuning in live on YouTube, I get to say, hi, Mom. Mom always likes to watch with Dave up in Minnesota. Yeah, there. And for the rest of you, I sure appreciate you tuning in. Oh, and speaking of YouTube, while you guys are around, anybody that has access to YouTube, please send them there. Ask them to do all of the YouTube stuff that doesn't cost anything other than a couple clickety clicks. Please click the like and the subscribe and ring the bell and tippity tap a couple of comments in there. I would sure appreciate it. And share these videos. Doesn't cost you anything. And but I do this because I want to help people out. That's the bottom line. It's not for my glory. It's not for. I'm obviously not making any money on this thing yet, but I just enjoy hearing from people that they tuned in and something that we covered, not just me, we covered that helped them out. And I sure appreciate my tribe and all that stuff. Another thing I'd like you to check out if you get a chance, go to my website, www.thetswb.com, stands for the tall skinny white boy.com, always has, always will. It stood for that way before the internet. So whatever else you find on the internet that is not the tall skinny white boy, that is not me. But if you do get a chance, and I'd appreciate if you would, go there, check it out. You'll find out a little bit of some of the stuff that I do. I have the privilege of helping people with lots of stuff. Depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief, relationships. I offer corporate coaching. If you've got any businesses now that are trying to build their business and they're realizing that, oh my gosh, they're being led by humans who are dealing with humans in their natural environment. That is how I help. I'm not going to teach you guys how to structure your 401s or your 503s or your double C's or whatever it is. Obviously, that's not my forte. Mine is communications and helping people get over their limiting beliefs and thoughts. And I do offer a free, that's right, no cost to you, 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity to have 30 minutes of my time to sit down, chit chat about anything that you think you're being challenged with. And after we talk, if I believe that we're going to be a good fit, I'll let you know. Also, if I think that we're not going to be a fit, I promise I will let you know. My goal is to get you the help that you not only want but deserve. And I will do my best to try and find somebody that will be able to fit that bill for you. That being said, it is time to introduce the tie of the week, something I started actually 2 years ago now. Can you believe it? Already. So I figured I'd start it off with a festive one. Here's one of my Favorite gangs right there. Look at those guys having a party, welcoming in 2026. That's right. Got the whole gang there. Um, let's see, before we get started, if this is your first time on Triple T or your first time watching the recording, the way it works, it's a 2-hour show. And the first hour, I've got 3 topics that I do my best to try and get through. If you've been around Planet TJ for a while, you know exactly what I mean by that statement. Then the second hour, we change gears up a little bit, and it's open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a topic, ask a question, and I let the people on the call answer first. And after everybody's answered, if I feel like there's something that I can add a value, that's when I toss in my 2 centavos. So let's start off the way we always like to, with anybody got anything cool that they would like to share from the last 7 days, all the way last year? Anybody got some cool stuff they want to share since the last time we saw each other last year? Mark?
Yeah, I had a phone call from my doctor, my cardiologist. I don't know how often doctors call with good news, but he called. I had my blood drawn Monday, and he called me with some good news about my an enzyme that when the heart is under stress, it secretes. And he said when I went into the hospital in early November, the level of that enzyme was 10,000 ppm. He just he said that currently it's down to 1,000,
Wow.
and I looked it up, and 800 is considered 400 to 800 is considered normal. So he couldn't wait. My cardiologist couldn't wait to tell me with the good news that
Yay.
yeah, I'm getting better. And how often do doctors call you with good news? It's
Yeah,
always,
right?
I got some bad news for you. But it's called NT-proBNP. And it's used to assess the severity of heart problems. And mine's almost normal now. Yay! Thanks for all the energy.
Very cool.
Of
Thanks for all
course
the
it is, Mark. Of course he would call you with good news. Of course that would just be your luck.
Yes, exactly.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
And usually when they call, when they've got good news, they want you to come in so they can charge you an office visit to give you the good news. So awesome.
So I won't see him until the end of February, but like I said, I had the blood drawn, and within 4 or 5 hours, he left me that message. So
Very cool. Very cool.
very good news. Very good
It
news.
is. Cool. Anybody else got anything they want to follow up after that great news? Yes? No? Maybe so?
That is awesome news. Very exciting for you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, again, you guys sent me a lot
Then
of
he answered
good
prayers.
energy.
Yes.
Good way to start the year.
Yes.
Good news.
Very cool. One last call. Anybody else got anything cool they want to share for?
If any rideshare people are watching, have them reach out to me at lunchmoneyclubhelp@gmail.com.
lunchmoneyclubhelp@gmail.com. If you know anybody that does rideshare, Uber, Lyft, all the above, absolutely. And if you forget what we just said, you know how to get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. I know how to get a hold of Michael.
Yes, do, because we've got something really cool that's going to help out rideshare drivers, and it's lunchmoneyclubhelp@gmail.com. So
there you go. lunchmoneyclubhelp@gmail.com.
with an S.
Yeah.
Help. So anyway, all right. Thank you.
Cool. Yep. Anybody else before we dive into the topics of the week? All right. Well, then I guess here we go. Topics of the week are stories, let go, and bullets. What a way to start off 2026. Stories. Oh, yes. As soon as you hear that word, stories actually start conjuring up in your head. Amazing how that works. And we've all heard good stories. And if you've ever been around a good storyteller, how cool is that? You just get sucked in to a good storyteller, a good story. And one of the most famous hypnotic starts to stories of all time is what?
Once upon a
Let me
time.
tell you a
Once
story.
upon a time.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that one, Mark.
Let me tell you a story. Yeah, that's the 5 most powerful words in the English language, according to Dr. David.
yeah. And who
Imagine
knew? Who knew that Once Upon a Time was an incredible hypnotic induction? And yet, when you think about it, didn't take long. You'd hear those words, and pretty soon, there you were, sucked into a whole different realm and time and adventure and all the above. And that's all good and fine because who's heard a story that they didn't like? Old Yeller. Whoa, whoa, if you like puppy dogs, Old Yeller, bad story. Princess Bride, good story.
Yeah.
And we'll all have our favorites and stuff, but that's not why I brought this up. I brought it up because of how many times do we actually pay attention to the stories that we let run amok in our head? Why didn't they text me back? Oh, that must be because story. They were supposed to call me. I wonder why they didn't. Story. I just met this person. It's gonna be amazing. Story. I just got this new job. It's going to be really easy and it's going to be awesome and I'm going to have a great time. Story. I'm going to start a new business and it's going to be easy because everybody's going to want to do this. Story. And if we don't pay close attention, how many of us have witnessed these stories taking over all of our thoughts? We get sucked into our own flippin' story, and we're the storyteller, and we can't stop the stupid story. It's like watching a bad movie and going, where's the pause? Where's the stop? Where's the rewind? Where's the alternate ending? And yet they're all there. We just can't find the remote. And that's when it's time to reach out to your tribe, your friends, your family, and how many realize that sometimes that's the hardest solution of all? Nobody wants to hear my stories in my head. I don't even want to hear the darn stories in my head. And so we have to figure out, well, then what's the solution? How do we handle, how do we control, how do we keep track of these stories that are on autopilot. Anybody got any input as to solutions that they've used in the past when they found story time going in the wrong direction at hyperspeed? Lenora.
It's so funny. I had I feel like I've been through probably like a blender over the last number of months, and anything that I thought was going to happen, most of it didn't. And it's just plot twist after plot twist. And I was laying in bed on Sunday thinking about something that I was supposed to be starting this week. And I was spiraling out of control, like tightness in the chest, laying there wildly uncomfortable, just completely chaotic. And I did my best to pause, and I was like, okay, what are you trying to get right now? And that part, or that version of me, or a voice, whatever you want to call it, was so wrapped in a story that they were ultimately trying to get control. But yes, I've been there. And most recently, that was Sunday at like 2 a.m. So maybe Monday.
Anybody else? That's like saying, has anybody seen rain? Yes. And I've had a few of those nights where it's almost like you start a battle inside your head where you're screaming at wherever that voice is coming from to just shut the up. Shut up, shut up, shut up. What does it do? Doubles down. But what about this? Oh, and they said, and I know that when they said that, this is what they meant. And oh, when I see them, oh, I'm going to tell them, and I'm going to say that, and then if they say this, and what are you doing? You're practicing lines for a movie that you never want to be in. Practicing multiple scenarios for a movie that you don't even know if it's going to get produced. And how much energy are you investing into rehearsing all of these lines without realizing that, okay, we got all the bad ones figured out. What are some of the good alternate endings? And isn't it, I find it interesting because I am just as guilty. I can figure out all the worst case lines, and I get, oh, the good comebacks, and oh, the one, and how many of those times are after the fact? The situation has already happened, it's already passed, and you're rehearsing all the things that you should have, could have, would have said if you'd have thought of them when it happened. Oh, if I could turn back time, I would I'd do it all. Oh, they would be, oh, I'd get them so good. They wouldn't even know what was coming. And yet, we know, can't go back time. And I got a question out of curiosity. What would you guys say is probably the oldest movie that you've been going back to rewinds and adding alternate endings? And oh, I remember that time in 5th grade. Oh, if I could, oh, yeah, I know. I'd have said, and they'd have cried. I would have. Me. 5th grade. Like, really? That far back, yep, still there. And when I work with clients, it's interesting when we go back, sometimes they're like, I thought it went differently. When they had to go back and actually go to what their memory banks have as the actual original footage. But because of all the stories that were told and all of the things that we added on, we're not even sure what part of that event is actually real anymore. So, if that's the case, why not go back and tell the story differently? Mark.
Well, this applies to, a good story. Again, the seventh grade, the girl tapped me on the shoulder, and I didn't know anything about girls. They were aliens. And,
Still are.
and I turned around. She goes, "You want to go on a date with me?" And I was flummoxed. I had no idea. I just stared and I just turned back, and all her friends giggled. From that moment on, I had just a tremendous crush on this girl. And but I would lie in bed at night and come up with all these romantic stories about how I was going to show up to her front door in a limousine and I was going to sweep her off her feet with roses and ride off into the sunset with her. And, and I would create these elaborate stories in my head, and just proves what hopeless romantic I am.
Yep.
That I was, none of that happened, but but I, again, it was but I would, like I said, for months I would just imagine these, create these romantic epics between her and I.
You created all the best dates you guys never had.
Yep.
Look at all the amazing dates she missed out on. Oh. Yep, been there. And that's where a lot of really good storytellers get their stuff.
Still remember her name, Sue Ellen McCauley.
See? Yep, I got a few of those. I won't list them on here because smart like that.
Oh.
The other part that I wanted to add to this is most of the stuff, most of the stories that get amplified that get us in trouble, what are they a product of? What was that?
They're a product of our own thoughts and the fact that we keep saying them on repeat.
Saying them on repeat, and they're self-gaslighting a lot of times. They're spotlighting a lot of times. They're mind reading a lot of times. If you've ever had that deal where they didn't text me back at all, and I know they're just, and they did it because, and then you talk to them and they're like, my phone died. What? Yeah. I had to go drive to Walmart and get a new charger cord for it because my charger cable went to pot. And then you're like, oh, kind of like that Saturday Night Live skit where, never mind. You gotta tell all the chorus, all of the minions in your head that you had all stirred up and making all that energy. And you look at them and you go, never mind. They're like, okay, we'll come up with another one here pretty soon. So going into 2026, now that we can look back at 25 and pull all of that reflection and self-analyzation and all the stuff that we can do any day of the year, but we get told we have to do it January 1. What are you guys seeing for stories and how to handle them? And Mike asked a question here, is the self-talk an indicator of the condition of the self-esteem, self-image, insecurities? What would it take to step back and read the symptoms and look for the disease? There's a lot of labels in there, and yes, all of those that you listed, Mike, can be applicable. And that depends on what the talk is, because they could, when it comes to condition of self-esteem, self-image, or what if they're positive? You see those guys that in their head they're just like, this is no big deal. I got this. I can do this. This is a cakewalk, and they can talk themselves up. Well, those obviously are not insecurities, but it's still the self-talk. It's still the stories. It's whether or not the stories are helping you or restricting you. Like Mark was talking, oh, if I could take her out, oh, and it would be amazing, and the sun would be that perfect hue, and the clouds would be just scattered just enough to give it some texture, and the perfect song would come on the radio. And I picked her favorite beverage and her favorite little dessert, and everything would be amazing. So there's those stories in your head as well. That's where I say being aware of the stories and trying to figure out, why are these here and are they serving me, and figuring out how to change them. That's why, just like when people hang around me, if you hang around me long enough, you're going to hear me say, did you just say that? If I hear somebody talk down about themselves, I call it out, because it's a habit, it's a muscle. I'll hear, well, I can't do, or this means this. I'm like, okay, that's a label. What's another label you could use? And what's another one? And I force people to come up with 2 or 3 alternate ones. Or, okay, you figured out 100 ways that it could go wrong. Give me 3 ways it could go right. Because that's another deflection of exercise to try and build yourself to get used to these could happen. Lenora.
I think to me, the big core thing that I find very powerful is that it always goes back to your language. So what stories you're telling yourself, whether it's about your self-esteem, your self-image, your insecurities, what's the language you're using? And when we talk about language, yes, our words have meaning, but also the tone that we're using as we're saying these things also are bringing up a language within our nervous system and how we're feeling. And one thing that I keep going back to is having a thought and then judging myself for having that thought. So if you say something like, I'm proud of the work that I reached out to my 2 contacts, or I'm proud that I acquired 2 new clients. And then you have this other voice that comes up going, but are you really proud? Like that self-judgment that you can have a thought and then there's that self-judgment behind it, and focusing in on the secondary voice that's coming up, because that supportive self-talk, that encouraging self-talk that we do want to have is supposed to be there. At least to me, it is supposed to be there. And the only reason that we might be judging ourselves for it, or we're having another story in the background, is because we were taught that language of judging yourself. You were taught that language of being critical of yourself. You were taught that language, whether watching somebody or going through the experience, and then somebody saying, you shouldn't be X, Y, and Z, or that means you're this. So to sit with those thoughts, especially when it comes to your self-judgment or your self-reflection or wherever you are in your self-esteem or your image or your insecurities, to spend time looking at the words that come up for you, especially the words that you're saying in your head, and writing them down. And especially if you work with, whether you work with or you have a conversation with somebody, looking at the words and saying, but is this true? For example, something that I am wildly passionate about is helping people. I love, love, love helping people. And I would have a secondary judgmental voice going, but are you really helping people? Like, yeah, but that's just, anybody can do that. And it's dismissing and also eliminating the joy from myself in my own head about something that I'm passionate about. So always being aware, at least to me, of, are you judging yourself? And is it necessary? If you told me, or when, if any of you told me, said, you're proud of yourself, I'm going to be proud of you with you. I'm not going to sit there and judge that. So especially if you're noticing that, if you were sharing it with somebody, is that judgment coming up? Because I don't know, at least in this group, we're going to stick with this group. I don't know a single person in this group that would judge somebody for being proud of themselves or talking about the things that are coming up, and they'll work to navigate with you to say, what if you look at this way? So that's what I wanted to share from Mike's question.
Great answer. Mark.
Yeah, something I learned about storytelling is I use a lot of therapeutic stories to try to help people because we don't judge stories. When we're being told a story, you start the conversation with, let me tell you a story. Judgment goes away, basically. Judgment shuts down, So when someone's telling me a less than positive story, I'll do a reframe on them. Well, wait, maybe this is just the bad part of the story. You're going through the haunted forest right now with all the spooky sounds and the darkness and the shadow play. And, I said, maybe this is just the bad part of the story. Maybe you can, you will get the girl, the gold watch and everything, but this is just, any good story. There's always the haunted forest. There's the, and maybe that's what you're going through right now. But as I was writing that down, what Lenora was saying, in the same way, and this is just, again, this could be a question for later, but when we tell ourselves stories, is the same faculty in operation, because when we're telling ourselves a bad story, maybe we don't judge it. Okay, in the same way, like I said, when I'm using it therapeutically, people aren't judging my stories, but it could also be, like I said, when we tell ourselves a story, maybe judgment also goes away.
Yep.
Just a thought.
And that's a great thought, because one of the things that I do with my clients is I'll say, if you had, when you hear certain replies, certain stories, things of that nature, if you had speakers 360 degrees around you in a full sphere, which speaker is that sound coming out of? When it's good, when it's bad, when it's angry, when it's happy, when it's sad, when it's judging. And it's interesting watching my clients, because oftentimes it'll be, well, the bad one comes here, the judging one comes here, the good one's from over here, the happy one's from here, the sad one is right here. They're from different locations. And when they start to realize that, I point out, are they all the exact same person? Are they all the exact same voice? Are they all the exact same tone? And are they all the exact same importance? If you can take that nagging voice that's judging you, and what if you changed its voice? What does it sound like now? You're dumb. You don't even understand that stuff. What are you talking about? You're such a loser. And you go, really? Hold on. Once you say that again, you're dumb. You're a loser. Oh my gosh. And you're like, yeah, shut up. Go somewhere else. Go bug somebody else. Or even better, shut off. Give me that energy so I can give it to a better voice. Because you're not real anyway. You're just expended energy that isn't serving me. And I've got better stories I can tell. Once upon a time, there was a voice just like you that ran out of energy and disappeared, and was replaced by a better voice. Yeah, that's a good story. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that one. Any ahas, epiphanies, things that you guys want to share on that stuff? Yes, no, maybe so. Did we get it all covered up? All right. You're welcome, Mike. Then we're going to change gears. We're going to go for two topics tonight. We're going to go to let go. Oh, let go. Another part of the January 1st creed. What can we let go and leave behind in 2025? What is a 2025 remnant that stayed or should stay, or we can send back and leave it there in 2025 and just let go of it? Anybody? Ideas came up? One of the interesting ones is how many people want to let go of extra weight. Leave that behind in 25. Bad habits, let go of them. But what does it take to know what needs to be let go? What what do you have to do to know what to let go? Usually you got to do a little inventory, little assessment. Kind of like when you see the clearance rack at the store. Who said that? Was that? Oh, Mike. Yeah. I used to think light like a feather, light as a feather at the doctor's office. Didn't work. Yeah. You got to get one of those mentality or mental energy scales. But there's a lot of other things that we have the ability to decide to let go and leave behind. Bad habits, a lot of people want to quit smoking on the first, quit drinking, quit eating junk food and all the above. Sadly, though, a number of my clients that have those desires basically try to attack a Tyrannosaurus Rex with no plan and no tools, just a statement. Some things are much easier to let go than others. That's proven every day on trash day. Trash day, it's pretty easy to haul out the cardboard boxes and the all the junk mail and the empty milk carton and all of those things. But when it comes to letting go of things that have been part of our identity for how long, we try and make it just as easy as taking out the trash. And this time of year, if you know somebody that has been alluding to or made the statement of, in 2026, I am going to stop XXX, I'm going to stop doing ... I'm going to change ... Ask them if they have somebody that can help them with a plan to that. What is their tribe? People that want to quit drinking have AA and a bunch of different things of that nature. What do you guys? Any comments? Mark just put a good comment in the comment section. The question might be framed: What would have to be real or true for you to let go of X? And again, it's if you can get them to tell the story of what it will look like in the future. It's a really good way to find out what kind of mindset they have. What does 2026 look like when you take these habits and put them in the trash and leave them in 25? What's the story of when you lose weight? What's the story of when you quit smoking? What is the underlying story behind it? And as they tell you that story, listen to the tone, the projected outcome, and what solutions or who they paint as the person coming in to rescue them. Is it them? Is it another version of them? Is it their tribe? What do you guys think? I want to hear from you guys quick. Mark.
Well, again, if you might ask them, who's going to be the hero of this story,
Ooh.
for you to, and how is that, how is the hero going to help you let go of this? The, that, why are you holding on to it so desperately?
Yeah.
Again, sometimes our best tool is to ask the right questions about,
Yep.
because, again, habits there's three kinds of habits. There's good habits, there's bad habits, and there's utilitarian habits, and when you decide you need to let something go, you got to just, it's a judgment call. What's a bad habit? Really, because is gambling a bad habit? Well, if every time you gambled you won, is it still a bad habit? So you have to use judgment as to what you want to let go, how you want to reprogram the machine, and sometimes you have to ask the right question about what's so bad about this habit. Why is this habit holding you back? What do you need to let go of that? Being too judgmental or being anything. Beating yourself up. What do you need to let go of?
Exactly. Great answer. Lenora.
I don't know if you guys have seen over the last couple of weeks, there's this new thing online, and everything is now like the such and such theory. And in one case, they talk about the funeral theory. And is it okay if I read it out loud to you all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the funeral theory says this: at the average funeral, only 10 people cry. 10. That's it. You spend your whole life pushing, striving, breaking your own heart open for people, holding it all together, and in the end, only 10 people are impacted enough to cry when you're gone. And here's the kicker. The number one factor that determines how many people go on to your burial is the weather. If it's raining, half of them won't bother showing up. I remember reading that and feeling my stomach drop. 10 people, half disappearing if it's inconvenient. At first, it felt heartbreaking. How could something so big as a human life, your life, come down to so few people caring at the end? But then the sun slowly started to rise. It was also incredibly freeing, and why it changed me. And then this person went on to share why it changed them. If there's something that you want to do, especially in 2026, and if you think about, now I know I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say every single one of us remember the 80s, and every single one of us remember the 90s, and every single one of us remember life before social media. And there are many people that are afraid to do something because they'll say, well, what if people say this online?
There.
What if I put this out here, and what if that comes back to me? And first, don't let that be the thing that holds you back. There are tons of people online and tons of robots online. And as TJ has often reminded me, if it's a drunk meth head on the street and they tell you that you don't know anything, Lenora, and that you're stupid, are you going to believe them? And he's absolutely correct, because that person doesn't know me at all. And if you flip through enough reels, which I feel like I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that every one of us has been stuck in a doom scroll. People are talking and they're talking and they're talking and they're talking. And you're like, well, they don't seem to worry about putting themselves out there all that much. So why should I? If you're passionate about it, if you, whether it's something that you want to lose weight, or you want to take care of your body, or you want to go for your degree in social work, or if you want to become the mechanic extraordinaire and you've never touched a car in your life, go do it. It's your life. And if you think about how consumed you are thinking of what will people think about me, the kicker is that other people are thinking the same thing about themselves. They're not thinking about you. Not that you're not the center of your universe, but you might not be the center of their universe.
Yes.
Do what you want to do. Live your life. And if you can live your life and find as much joy as possible, I think that is something well worth sharing, however you like to share it and move it forward.
Great answer. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Mark.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Lenora. I was watching something over the weekend, and like you said, you get stuck in catastrophe loops or cycles, and you keep you're not moving forward if you're not allowing yourself to let go. And if somebody wants to be more confident, if that's their goal for 2026, don't create that loop. Oh, nobody's going to want to see me if I again, and it's that cognitive hamster wheel we get on that interferes with our ability to achieve our goals and the new year. If you want to be confident, shut off that part of your brain and just be confident. That was the message. If you want to lose weight, stop doom scrolling or watching that reel over and over again in your head. Stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah. Just
Because
do it.
if you use your imagination in a good way, stop that hamster, that cognitive hamster, and just let it go.
Yes.
Oh my God, can we name the cognitive hamster? Because that's the cutest word that just popped up in my head, Mark.
Yes.
Sure. We can.
I mean,
if we
I'm a big fan of
can make ourselves
Ratatouille,
rich.
but he's a rat and not so much a hamster. But I feel like maybe we can go with like Hammy the hamster.
Yeah.
We can name the hamster if you want to.
Teach him how to cook like Ratatouille.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Oh my gosh. I was on a call yesterday and it was with a colleague and mentor who is very near and dear to my heart. And she was asking me some different things and some different questions. And among the many things that we talked about, one was about holding the frequency. So I like to think of it as the art of, whether it's the art of communication or the art of holding space or the art of communication. And I think it's so interesting because I think we all have such a beautiful capacity in this group to hold space for each other, to have this incredible amount of understanding and appreciation and seeing each other as they show up. Yet we might not have that for ourselves. So I know Mark had mentioned confidence. Imagine it's the art of holding the frequency of your own confidence, or the art of holding the frequency of high quality self-talk and allowing yourself to play with it, especially when we think about art. I find one of the funniest pictures or the commercials, it's like a banana on a wall with duct tape. And I think Brad Pitt is in it. And he's got it's like a meta commercial glasses thing. And they're like, that's a banana, that's art. And somebody ends up eating it, whatever it was. Art is whatever you want it to look like. Art can be music, art can be painting, art can be being a magnificent mechanic and restoring cars. Art can be the art of helping people get the changes that they want, whatever you want it to look like. And if you allow it to be the art of your self-care or the art of building your confidence, great news. To start, it's super, super messy and you're learning, and allow it to unfold and to build those skill sets, because when you're playing, when you're being in that artful creative mode, it will unfold completely differently versus this is how a confident person looks, acts, behaves. If you allow it to be an art, you'll allow yourself to shift your identity much, much faster.
Awesome. Another great answer. And here we are, 4 minis to the top of the hour and one topic to go. Think we can squeeze it in? Let's find out. Bullets. Bullets. Oh, in this day and age, scary topic. Oh, everybody's starting stories. What are we talking about? Bullets, bullets. This actually came from a couple of people that came to me with relationship challenges. And what it's from is, well, anybody have a bad day with their person? Yes.
Never.
Yes,
I don't know what you're talking about. Mark either.
And they had that person, and oh, that person this, and oh, that person that, or oh, and we broke up, and he, oh, they are just and they did this, and they did all of that. And then what happens? I'm sorry. I'm a dork. Will you get back with me? Okay. And all the red flags get painted pink again, but who's not impressed? All the friends and family. And the clients are coming to me and they're going, and everybody's mad at me because I'm back with loser boy and all this stuff, and they're calling him this and they're saying that. And I said, well, where did they get the bullets? Who gave them the bullets? You're getting shot with the ammunition that you gave them. Be careful of what you hand out to people, because they really like shooting back the bullets that you gave them. It's one of the toxic slopes of gossip. You can paint the slope nice and slippery, but you might be the one who slips down the slope into the muck. Mark.
Yeah, I use a little bit different metaphor. Sometimes, again, in relationships, people will say hurtful things or impulsive things or irrational things. And, those are all snake bites. And what I try to explain to people is that no snake bite ever killed a human being in the whole history of human beings. It's never the snake bite itself. It's the venom that's injected. Right. And, and that just paired up as you were talking with the Buddhist saying that it's always the second arrow that hurts worst. They're not the first arrow you're shot with is Second arrow is the arrow you shoot yourself with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lenore.
I noticed that many years ago, I was probably 20 when I realized if I'm telling somebody about the drama, I'm also feeding the story and I'm coloring the perception of whatever it is for this other person, and this other person will likely not forget. And a lot of the time it is, what do they say? Misery loves company, or people love to commiserate together. And I had early on, probably around 20, I just one day went cold turkey and I'm like, I'm done feeding the drama. I didn't want any part of it. And so anytime I was in a situation, whether it was with a significant other or I've been married for 15 years, and anytime we've had a disagreement, we've had more than one in 15 years, but either way, I don't tell people about it. And people might say, oh, well, then you can't have a different perspective, or, you have to be more understanding. I don't tell people because I don't particularly think it's any of their business, but also I know for sure I will eventually have a conversation with whomever it is, including my significant other. And I don't want somebody else to remember so that I can then go back and then they have a catalog of things that I have maybe said in frustration. And rather than being a voice of understanding, and if you have a friend or if you have a loved one who is able to be understanding, again, I know everybody in this group is extraordinarily understanding. And when we do have our side conversations, it's not, oh, well, don't you remember what your significant other said then? It's not about the drama. It's about the resolution and how can you support that person. And especially when somebody is spinning and they're really wound up and you're wanting to hold space for them, you don't want to wind them up more. This is why misery loves company. One goes up and the other one goes with them, or which way you're spiraling, they will join in the company, versus having a conversation about it with somebody else. They're going to come with a different perspective, as if anybody in this group would be much more understanding and work to resolve your frustration and bring you down to a calmer place rather than make it worse. So definitely be careful with who you share, just as careful as you are with who you share your dreams with and who you share your aspirations with. Again, I don't encourage telling everybody and anybody about it. Be also careful with who you share your personal stories with, because that can absolutely give other people bullets, and you didn't necessarily want to give them bullets. You really just wanted to be understood and to be heard.
What an amazing summary of all three topics. You got to be.
There's your first hour recap.
Yeah, and there it
Previously
is.
in the
All
first
three
hour.
of them broke down in just a few minutes by the awesome Lenora. If you commiserating doesn't take, but if you're a great storyteller, oh, the misery lovers love you. But you got to let go of it, because you're handing them bullets that they're going to turn around and feed right back to you, usually at the worst time. And that takes us over the top of the hour. I'm going to, Mark, hold that thought. You're still allowed to answer, but this is where we switch gears, and I let anybody on the call bring up a question or a topic and let anybody on the call answer first. So Mark's got his hand up, I think, for the last comment. Mark.
Yeah, I had, again, a brilliant summation, Lenore. You've been you've been shining a lot tonight. The second topic of letting go, you only gave us half the saying. So I saw this saying over the week. It said, let go or be dragged. And that can
Oh.
apply to, if you tell somebody a story, they're going to jump on, they're going to try to, put their content in with it. Sometimes, like you said, give them the bullets and you're loading the gun for them. So that was my comment. But I do have a question.
Perfect.
The question that, again, it was part of the same podcast, and it had to do with if your life was a movie, okay, and it was in a movie theater, and the movie theater was crowded with people, and they watched the entirety of your life, and got to the present moment. What would those people be screaming at you from the audience? Don't take that job, break up with her, What would the audience be screaming at you? I'd like to get people's input from that.
Great question. Who wants to start off the answers? Anybody? Or another question, what would you title it? Mine would probably be Plot Twist Left Turn.
Bueller. Bueller.
Bueller. I think mine would probably have people just going, "What next?" But regardless of what it is, you'll be fine. Who else has some input? Must have had a hard first week of the year. You guys are kind of quiet. I think we stumped him, Mark. I think the other part about being asked your movie, as long as the camera's rolling, it's not finished. And it doesn't have to be, you can change the movie type at any time. You can change settings, you can change the cast, you can change all sorts of things. Guillermo.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
There you are.
The other way that you can see it is like you put the movie and then you can put yourself in the future. Like today is December 31st. And you ask yourself, the movie is a complete disaster. What you can do today to change your movie?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Great answer. And that's why I encourage so many of my clients to get a day planner for the year and reverse engineer their year. Who do you want to be on January 1st, 2027? What do you want changed? And so many people wait until December 28th to go, "Oh, I wrote the same information on 363 pages, and now I wish it was a different story." But if you go all the way out to December 31st of 26 and look back and reverse tell the story, Kind of like, isn't that Tarantino films where he starts with the end? How did we get here? And then it goes back to the beginning and tells the story. And then suddenly, towards the very end of the story, boom, you're back to what you saw in the first 4 minutes of the movie. And if we could do that, what changes would you put into what positive plot twists and right turns would you put into the year ahead of you? What kind of modifications might you do to your vehicle to make sure that it can handle that trip better, more comfortable? If I may, I think I might change the metaphor a little bit. Instead of a movie, what if it was a map? What trip would you design? Where would you go? Would you change roads? Have you been on a freeway or have you been taking back roads? Has the road you've been under seemed to be under-maintained, a little too many potholes, too much construction? Would you look for rerouting? Because you're the only GPS you got. Mark.
Yeah, would you name the movie Road to Perdition or Hell?
Yeah, right?
Or would you name the movie Highway to Heaven? Because you're not only the director, you're the producer, you're the writer, you're the actor. If you take an active role in your life, you get to wear all three hats.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if life's a journey, like you said, again, that might be the title and you get to decide what the title of it is. And that sometimes can tell you a lot about the movie.
And how much comedy do you want in it? How much romance do you want in it? It's nice to have action, but yeah, sometimes those action films can get a little heady, a little heavy. And it goes right back again to the thing we've talked about on here many times, making sure that you've got 12 months ahead of you. Making sure that there's at least one thing to look forward to per month and one year-defining event. And now you can leave that up to chance. Well, hopefully this year has something good that I can remember the year for. Or you can plan it out and make sure that it's something you want the year remembered for. Last year was the first year that I taught in Chicago. Actually, the first, if I remember right, last year was the first time I'd been to Chicago, other than driving past in the semi with my pops. It's also the year that I went back to Yellowstone after surviving the forest fire of '88. So I got a couple of things in there. This year I've got a class reunion. I think they got the number screwed up because there's no way I've been out of school that long, but I'm not a CPA, so. But what do you guys, when you start looking at the 359 days left, Are you planning or are you floating? Driving or are you coasting? Yeah, they're quiet tonight. Holy, I'm gonna start shipping out some $5 coffee before we start. Anybody else got anything to add to that, or is it time for a new topic or a new question, or? Or do I have to start pulling out quotes this early? Too early for me to start pulling out quotes. Crickets are chirping. Okie doke. Last call. Anybody got a topic or a question for the group? Because I got one we didn't get to last week. I'll wait for. Oh. Last week, one of the topics was legacy. And mainly this one was directed at some of my corporate clients, because I get a lot of business people come to me and they're trying to get over anxiety and a bunch of other stuff because they want to build their business. They want to be able to lead their team, lead their employees, and all the above. And they also oftentimes want to make their business bigger, build their business. You know, build. I want my business to be twice as big. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is I asked them, are you building your business for sale or for legacy? Are you building it to hand down to your kids? Are you building it to hire another CEO when you're getting ready to retire to keep the name going? Or are you building it up so that you can sell it in 5 years or 10 years with that date in mind? Not, yeah, I'll sell it eventually, with a date in mind, with a planned sale in mind. And the reason for that is it has been proven many times that business owners who build their business with the intent of building it for sale build it completely different. And they are often much more successful, and they keep their records much better. They analyze their records much better, because that's how they get the money. Here's where we started. We've had this much growth over these many years. And passing that vision on to the employees is also important. It's how you pass on the vision to the employees. Not saying, yep, I am building this business to sell it in 5 years. Well, what happens to employee morale? Well, why am I sticking around then? Whereas if the employees are partial owners and know that the intent is, I'm intending to sell it in 5 years with a contractual obligation where I stay on for 2 years and you guys go with the business with a pay increase and all of the other. I'm not going to sell it to some guy that can barely afford the business and wants to ride on the coattails. We're going to sell this for some big money to somebody that can afford to really enhance the business. Now the employees have something to work towards, a vision to work towards as well. The other cool thing about this, it doesn't have to just be a business, it can be a family. What ways could you apply this to building up a family household? Lenore, you got your hand up.
I wanted to piggyback off of the business piece. One of the things that I'm doing with one of the CEOs that I work with him, and then he also hired me on to work with his employees, because ultimately working one-on-one with people, and it's not that I report to the CEO about people's personal stuff, but if your team isn't succeeding, or if you feel like there needs to be a better rapport, or even I know these people are high achievers and I want to keep them on for good for as long as I can, how can I best support them? So whatever your intention is for your employees or your team, whether it's for your business or you're part of another business, whatever it might be, that is something that is so powerful, because you are also opening up the door for them to think of things from a different perspective. And it's not this eye roll HR, group cheer yeehaw type thing, or kumbaya, we're all a great team. It's, if I'm at work and I'm struggling with something at work, we all know that it has nothing to do with work. There's something else going on. And that's why CEOs or smaller businesses will bring me on, because they now have the understanding of their own habits. And they're like, wait a second, I know the changes that have worked for me that you've gotten because we've worked together. I want this for my team because I want my team to be at the optimal level as well. So I think that's something really, really powerful. And I know some people, especially in this group right now, the things that they learn here, they also take to their children that they're raising, that they still are taking care of. They're not 18 and out of the house. They're quite young and still within the house. And I think that's also incredibly valuable, because you're shifting their perspective. You as the parent or the guardian, the caregiver, you're actively shifting their perspective, and you're helping them build that resilient mindset because of the things that you're learning here, and you're carrying it forward. And not only is it something you hear, like I love listening to Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks at one point. Wayne Dyer will always be like, oh, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn. And it's one thing to hear it. It's something completely different to understand it, to embody it, and to pass it on. And that, I think, is just one of the many beautiful things about being a part of this group, but also about what you were saying about being in business. And how you're building your business for other people, and what do your employees, what's their mission, being a part of your business or your company, whatever that might be. So I just wanted to add that in.
Great answer. Who else has something to share on that? Mark put in the comments, how invested are you in your own future?
That's a good one too.
And when you look at, I've had parents, especially moms, oh, bless the moms. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, okay, yeah, and I just went and saw just a heart specialist. That's it. He's just a heart specialist. You got 5 jobs, but you are the CEO or the COO of the household. And you have a business product that you are selling the world, because eventually you're going to take these little humans and off to the world with them. Are you raising them for legacy or for sale? And I'm not talking about getting the top dollar for them in that sense. You're not selling them as property. You are selling them as a benefit to the world. What are they going to be able to offer the world when they leave the house? We've all met those people that you're like, oh, you came from Timu.
You came from a what?
Timu.
A tea room?
No, Timu, T-E-M-U. You're a commodity straight from Timu.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yes.
I thought you were saying that.
Little,
Okay.
little overpromised, but very underwhelming.
It's a lot like wish.com.
Yes, I've worked with a couple of those commodities that showed up, and you're like, oh, you look like you have a brain. Oops, I misjudged. Your parents didn't obviously weren't building for sale or legacy. They just kind of kept you alive. And now it's up to the world to educate you into how things work. But the other thing, one of the other things that I did with my corporate clients was I had a client come to me, and they had a pretty decent track record of coming into a business and raising it up to a certain level, and that just, they couldn't get past that level. And so a new CEO came on, and they moved on to another business that was struggling, and they were able to get in there and bring it right up to that level, and it became a pattern. And so they reached out to me, and we went in and found out that their 12-year-old self had decided that this amount of money was a lot of money. Anything beyond that was greed. And so that was their glass ceiling. Well, we cleared that up after they argued with their 12-year-old self for about 5 minutes straight. But the other part, when we got that cleared up, they had the business that they were running had offices in 5 different countries. And I helped them focus on the mindset, yes, the business was for sale, but are you treating it, are you building it as a business that is for sale? And he realized that he didn't, that was the goal, but he wasn't looking at how to make it fashionable, attractive when it was time for sale. And it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in charge of a huge Fortune 500 company. It's still being able to show the value of the business when it's time for sale. And one of the things he realized was he was having troubles getting all 5 countries on the same vision. And one of the things I did, I told them to do a mastermind, but not with CEOs, not with supervisors, but with performers of each department at the location. I said, have one person from finance, one person from HR, one person that is in the manufacturing on the ground, not a supervisor, not a director, an actual worker. HR, not the HR director. One of the people that, the quote unquote, the nobodies. And bring them in and let them know that their opinion, their actual truthful opinion is what is needed to help this company grow. You will not be docked, or this will not be held against you. We need to know. And they said the information they got from that one mastermind meeting, which went, it was it was supposed to be an hour long, went 4 hours, because the information that was coming out, they said even the supervisors were like, what? Because the nobodies were either too afraid or too unheard for the information to get out. Mark.
Yeah, again, the right question sometimes is, what's your focus, basically? I had to run and get a physical prop, and I would, so what's this?
Paper.
Is it just, it's paper that people assign all kinds of motivation to. It's just paper, It happens to be my emergency fund, but what is that? What does it mean to people? Like I said, what is their focus? Is this their focus?
Yeah.
Figured the physical problem. But yeah, like I said, it's what people focus on, Are they focused on production? Are they focused on sales? Are they focused on, money? What's their focus, basically? And and sometimes they miss the big picture because they're too focused on the dinero, on the, production numbers, on the, if it's, because we're all, focused on something. So that was my little bit.
I've talked to so many business owners that have doubled the size of their business and realized they were taking home less money with 4 times the stress, 4 times the issues, and they only doubled the business. And now they've got double the employees that they are responsible for, and they're trying to figure out how they can get out of it, because it became too much of a monster to enjoy anymore, which is really sad. Lenora.
There's so many good things in here. For example, and this might resonate with somebody else. So when I think of business, for me, the idea of business is very tiresome. And it could be a reason as to why that it's something that I'm just like, I just want to help people, and I want to speak, and I want to teach. I don't want to think about this whole like businessy aspect. And that being said, so for me to think about selling my coaching or my practice, whatever you want to call it, feels exhausting to me. And I don't like the idea of it. Now, that being said, I do like the idea of, what do I want people to know? What do I want to share? And hilariously enough, in the conversation that I had with my mentor yesterday, one of my colleagues that I had shared earlier, she had said to me, what do you want to accomplish in 2026? And even as she dug deeper, she goes, what do you want the world to know? And I thought that was really powerful. So whether it's, what do you want the world to know, or what do you want to tell people about you? What do you want them to know about you? It doesn't necessarily have to be business. It can be, what do you want people to know about you as a leader if you work within a company, or as the person that is showing up each day, maybe as a parent? What do you want to instill, or what do you want to instill as a teacher? Thankfully, TJ comes on here every week and is a fantastic host. And what does he want the world to know about what he shares and how he teaches other people? And I think that is just as helpful of a guiding question as, if I sell my business, what do I want it to look like? And still thinking of that expansion and that growth, and ultimately that elevation that raises not just you, it raises the consciousness of other people. So even while our friend Duncan is fixing cars and all these amazing things, when his clients come in, what does he want them to know about him? What is he wanting to pass on? And I find that to be very inspiring. And I'm going to have a pin because I have something, if we get to it in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Because while you were bringing that up, owning or living in a domicile, in a household, same thing. Are you looking to sell it, or are you looking for legacy?
Another good one.
Because I learned the hard way. I've had a couple of properties now, and the first two properties I owned, I viewed them as legacy. This is where I'm going to retire. Plot twist, left turn. Oh, I'm in a new place. This is where I'm going to retire. Plot twist, left turn. But each one of those, I had projects and visions, but because it wasn't to sell the place, I did them at a much slower pace. And when it became time to sell the place, how long did it take for me to get those projects done? 3 years worth of projects done in 3 months. And now I've got the place the way I like it, and I'm selling it. And so the last place we owned before this place, when we were looking at buying it, before it was even ours, I said, this is going to be a 2-year flip. And my wife went, what? I went, I'm looking at this property like a 2-year flip. I'm going to do all the things that will improve the livability and the value of the property, and it has to be done in 2 years, because I'm not going to be one of those crazy house flippers where you go in and you get the paint company called Blow and Go, and they paint the entire house inside and out in 5 hours, but it's all boring. And you guys, if you've watched any of the TV shows where they fake you into believing that they did all those changes and removed walls and put in headers and all the furniture and everything in 4 weeks for $200,000, that's to create views. But again, the reason that it's worked so well is getting those changes done that quickly because of my vision of the house is for sale, not for legacy. What the heck? Check that out. I did this, and the computer raised a hand for me. Anyhow, but that's another place where looking at your daily operations in the light of, are you doing it for sale, or are you doing it for legacy? Are you doing it for the long run or for short gain? Because you will apply your energies differently. What are you going to the gym for? Are you going for sale or legacy? Are you going to get your body in shape for summer? Or are you going so that you enjoy going for the rest of your life? I've seen enough people that, well, I just have to learn, I gotta lose 30 pounds. Oh, I've gotta lose 30 pounds. I'm gonna go on this grapefruit diet, and I'm gonna go to the gym, and I'm going to bust my butt, and it's gonna be uncomfortable, and I'm gonna hate it. And as soon as they hit that weight goal, they've lost 30.1 pounds, what happens? I hit it. Yay! Margaritas and cake for everybody. And they quit going to the gym. And about 2 months later, they've gained back 25 of the 30 pounds they lost. For sale or for legacy? So, Lenora, you said you had...
I agree for sale or for legacy.
Yeah.
Yes. I think about our house quite often because I still don't know if we're going to sell it or rent it. But we redid our kitchen a couple of years ago with the intention of for when renters live here. So it's very interesting to go back and forth as many times as we've had over the last number of weeks. Just dropping stuff over here. Okay, so I was watching a Hallmark movie. I know you are all surprised. And I know. And in this movie, she ends up meeting Santa, and Santa passes her a book, and it says her name and it says her wishes. So like Samantha's wishes. And he had pictures of all the things that she had wished for over the years that had come true. And especially when we can get so focused on what we're creating or what we're manifesting or what we're working toward, we don't pay attention as much as there's a good chance that this is just me. I could be wrong. You might be involved. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that life is happening right now. That the things that I had wished for do appear, and as they appear, they might not necessarily be this, it might be this moment of over the top joy, and then the gravity of it sets in, and then you're like, okay, now I got to focus on this. So in that, I like to draw my awareness to, and I started to write down all the things that I had wished for that had come true, or all the things that I had hoped would manifest or I'd hoped to create that had come true. And I think it's a very good practice for looking in the rearview mirror, especially as we're looking forward in the windshield of the things that we're experiencing now and the things that are to come, because we can get very focused on, at least I can, things that haven't occurred versus the things that have occurred. And I need to pay attention to the good things that have occurred and not focus in on, but this isn't here yet, or I didn't get that, and drive myself bananas. So I started to write down. I know you're shocked that I have another journal. The things that I had wanted and paid attention to the other things. And anytime I think of something, I'm like, oh, I got to write that down. So as we head into 2026, even reflecting on 2025 or the past several years, you know, I mean, there was once a point where we all had wished we didn't have to go into a store with a mask on if we were one of the people that were still trying to be kind and wear a mask if we didn't want to wear a mask, or whatever it was, whatever your belief was. There was once a time where we didn't know what it was going to look like to travel, and now we get to travel again. And I often say this too if I do some per diem work in skilled nursing facilities, and I'll hear people and they'll be like, oh, today's the worst day. And I'm like, you're not in a mask. It's not a bad day. Not in a mask. You're not in gowns and you're not garbed up. It is not a bad day. And it's just some of those things that are helpful to see those perspectives. And your wish came true. You eventually got out of a mask, Lenore, and you were able to go to the grocery store. You know, I mean, to even go to an extreme, I think it was at the end of 2020 or the end of whatever it was, the first Christmas when everybody was still in COVID, it was so high in the areas that it was, I'm kidding you not, guys. My Christmas with my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law and my husband and I was outside on my parents' patio, and my mom brought out like Christmas decorations, and we had Christmas in a fire pit, and all our Christmas gifts were out, and we were all bundled in coats. And hilariously, it's a very funny memory now, but there was a time where we wished we could be in the room together, and people were scared to be in the room. So paying attention to the things that you had wanted to come true. And yes, you might still be focused on the things that you're wanting, whether it's to have more confidence or to have more clients or to lose weight, whatever it is. Don't discount the things that have already come true for yourself. See, always lessons in Hallmark.
Mark.
Yeah, Lenore, you said something in a squirrel. You said something about the windshield, and you know, the squirrel came up and whispered, some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug. But
that's a good one, Mark.
Well, you know, again, but when we look back, you know, again, if we're looking in the rearview mirror, sometimes, you know, the vision is a little distorted. You know, objects may appear larger than they actually are. But that just occurred to me. That's this second, and but it's always, you know, when we're looking back, it just seems smaller. You know, again, the perspective, if you're looking in the rearview mirror, just seems smaller. You know, more distant. The things that we've, you know, and we've been down the road, you know, all of us, and we've had really good things hopefully happen in our lives. You know, but when we look back, they just seem smaller. They didn't seem quite as big as they were at the time. So the you know, the trick is to always to look forward. Just keep moving forward. One of my mom's favorite sayings.
Yep.
You know, whatever's happening, just look forward. Just keep moving forward. And you know, my sister constantly reminds me of that when less than positive things happen. You just got to keep moving. You got to keep going forward. Can't go back. Can't stay where you're at. But, you know, what you're talking about, like I said, you know, again, we had, you know, we wished for that bike and it was there Christmas morning. That was magical. You know, you wrote that letter to Santa, okay, with the, you know, and you put on that list, and then magically on Christmas morning, it was there. Like I said, there's, you know, and I still believe in magic, you know, magic of the human heart made manifest by technology or whatever, by people. So yeah, when I look forward, you know, I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a magical, mysterious world. what's going to be around the corner? What's the next good thing that's going to happen to me? So maybe a belief or, some beliefs don't have to be rational, but they can be very empowering.
Lenore.
Love that you said that, Mark, about keep moving forward, and also that they do appear smaller. And I can definitely understand that. And I won't lie, I print out pictures. I not only print out pictures, guys, I go an extra level of layer and extra, and I laminate some of them because they're that important to me, or I have them up here. And I mean the certain ones, like, yes, TEDx, but even another level of TEDx was like meeting one of the people on the call in Chicago, and being a part of that keynote to me was incredibly special. And I find that I happen to have a very good memory, which can go both ways. So depending on if you're happy you're my spouse, I have a really good memory. And if you're not happy you're my spouse, I have a really good memory. So in that, I do like to print out pictures. So even if it is of your bike from when you were 8, or your Christmas from when you were 9, or from that record that you had searched for years and years and years, or for that part that finally got to go in the car after waiting for so long for it to show up, take a picture of it and print it out. Print it out, print it out, print it out. I have printouts here, I have printouts there. I have legitimate picture frames in my house, and they're up to date. I print out pictures constantly. And I'll even go over and then make like a Shutterfly calendar, just of the things that happen, because I think they're beautiful reminders of moments that you wanted, like whether it's a car venture. A car venture is what I affectionately refer to as getting in the car and driving lots and lots of miles with my husband, and going to Buc-ee's. You all know I love going to Buc-ee's, and I print out pictures of Buc-ee's and finding ways to go, oh yeah, I really wanted to have that day off, and go and make that weekend really, really special after we were apart for a really long time, or after we worked crazy, crazy hard for such a stretch, and we finally got to go on that trail. I find taking that special moment and making it even extra special by printing it out is incredibly, incredibly helpful and powerful.
As a professional photographer, I endorse that comment. Yes, very much so.
What's a Buc-ee's?
You'll find out when you come visit.
Let me tell you a
Is that a
story.
rodeo?
They don't have it. They don't have them in Cali. I know that.
I'll text you, Duncan.
All right. I want pictures.
I wanted to throw in real quick, Mark, if I may. This is also like the story of the Chinese farmer, and we know it. But for those of you that are possibly watching live or the video about the Chinese farmer, and one day a horse shows up on his farm, and all the residents are like, "Oh, what great luck! Oh my goodness!" And he goes, "Yeah, we'll see." Well, then one day his son was playing with the horse and got bucked off the horse and broke his leg, and they're like, "Oh, what terrible luck!" And he goes, "Yeah, we'll see." Shortly afterwards, the army came through the village and grabbed all of the young men that were able to fight. Well, his son couldn't go because he had a broken leg. We'll see. I thought I had paradise and lost it, and ended up in San Diego and sleeping in a garage. Oh, what bad luck. We'll see. I ended up here. We'll see.
And he lives close to a Buc-ee's.
Yeah. Cool. Mark.
Close to a Bucky's, good thing. Lenore, again, like I said, I know that older women tend to collect photographs. I know my mom had all kinds of photographs, and if she were, on a quiet time, I'd come into the room and she'd be looking through old photographs and bringing back memories of good times and things like that. And we carry those good pictures around with us in our head, but occasionally I think it's always good to stimulate those neurons and recall those positive memories, and even back in Victorian times, women would go around with their picture box when they traveled or when they went, an ornate box, and it was all filled with pictures, and I remember, that women, the older women, because my mom was older, that they always seemed to have like a similar thing, like a picture box, with some of their cherished memories, and they'd carry that, and they'd have that picture box might be on the coffee table to remind them of all the good things, and it was, like I said, it's a very old tradition to have pictures. So, and to be able to, like I said, and I'd walk in on her on a Sunday afternoon, and she'd be sitting there with all these pictures, with all these albums, and of all the, events of her life, and it was a way for her to, recall all the good pictures, all the good stuff that happened over the course of her life. So,
Well, guess who else is guilty of that? And no, I'm not an old lady. Mom, if Mom was on here, right, Mom? I have been a collector of photos my entire life. I love pictures. I've got pictures. I've ended up with pictures from people. I don't know how I got them. I have no idea. I've got collections of pictures that belong to other people, and the only thing that makes sense is the universe knew that I would take care of them. And I'm going through them, and I've been contacting these people now, and unfortunately I got kicked off Facebook because I was able to get a hold of a bunch of family members and send them, images of these photos, and they're like, "How did you get that picture? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that picture. That's us when we're like 3." And the other part that it reminded me of is when I lived in France. Robert Chenu, who I worked for, gave me a hard time because I was taking tons of pictures and sending all the rolls of film back home. Love you, Mom. Thank you for all that. She'll verify. Lots of film came home, but he goes, "Why do you take so many pictures?" I said, "Because A, I want to remember, and B, I want to be able to show other people." And he goes, "I've got all my pictures right up here in my head." I said, "Good. Show me what you looked like when you were 5. Show me your first car. Show me that picture of you and that first girl that you had a crush on. I want to see that picture." And he didn't know how to reply. I said, "I brought some pictures along because that's how I am. Here's my family. Here's my house that I grew up in. Here's the first car that I owned. Here's some of my friends. Here," and and so, yes, documentation, pictures, or it didn't happen. Lenora.
I was going to say to Mark when he was talking about pictures, do you remember when you'd open your wallet and you had pictures?
Yes. Yeah. I've got a couple of well-pressed well traveled, and you can tell the difference. You can tell that they were wallet pictures that were in my papa's wallet. And they have that look. That
Well loved.
yeah, there's just that right amount of patina from being tightly pressed in a wallet and moved around ever so slightly and a little bit of sweat put on it.
I remember I'd carry around pictures of my wife and the kids, you know, wouldn't be of, things. It would always be of, the things that were most important to me. That's what guys used to carry around in their wallets.
Yeah. And now we've got these things, which right now it says that I have on my phone. Are you ready for this? And you guys should check too. I have 52,400 photos and 934 videos.
What?
I said, I bet you those are rookie numbers, but when you said 52,000, I'm like, okay, maybe not.
52,004. I don't know if it'll show up, but yeah, there it is. 52,000. And in my closet in my office, I have boxes and boxes and boxes of photos. And I wish I could find pictures of my photography studio that I had just before I ended up in California, because it was one of my favorite houses that I lived in. Almost every square inch of wall had a photo on it, of every size. And I can only do that in my office now, because apparently that's not proper interior design these days. So anyhow, that brings us past the top of the hour of the second hour. I want to thank you guys for hanging on and hanging out and being a part of Triple T, first one of 26. And yeah, we got 51 to go this year.
To look forward to.
To look forward to, and hopefully I will be able to see all of your smiling faces here, all 51 of them. That would be amazing and awesome and incredible. And it also gives me 51 opportunities to say, love you, Mom, and love the rest of you, and look forward to see your beautiful smiling faces back here in 7 glorious days. Go out and live life full to your plan it out, make sure that it is one that's memorable, and looking forward to hearing your stories and what you're going to let go of and how many bullets you stopped giving people. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, TJ.